What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So we're going to take a look and a listen to Jen Psaki. She is the press secretary for the White House, and she's going to be talking a little bit about the enhanced unemployment, how that will be ending shortly, as well as she's going to talk about the eviction moratorium. She said this in a press conference yesterday. I'm going to play, it's only a 1-minute clip, so I'm going to play the 1-minute clip first, and then we're going to go back and we're going to break it up and talk a little bit about what we learned from her responses. Okay, now she speaks on behalf of the president. She speaks on behalf of the White House. So when she talks, we need to listen because we know this is where President Biden stands on these issues. So that's what we're going to do today. But first off, you guys can do me a favor. Please hit the like button. It does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, just reminding you, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you also see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look and a listen at this clip. Now, I will play it in its entirety, and then we're going to go back and we're going to break it up and talk a little bit about what we learned from this discussion. Here we go.
States or around the world.
And then my second question is about American families. 7.5 million Americans are set to lose unemployment benefits next month, not just their federal supplement, but all benefits. Given the expiration of the eviction moratorium, what's going on with the Delta variant, has the president considered asking Congress to extend those benefits further?
Well, if Congress were to vote to extend the eviction moratorium, the president would sign that into law, and he'd be happy to do that.
The benefits, the unemployment benefits.
Look, I think he made a decision based on where things stand in our economic recovery at this point in time. There's additional assistance that continues to go out to people across the country, which you are very familiar with and know well, whether it's the child tax credit or additional funding that is still being distributed by the American Rescue Plan. Our objective continues to be to work with states and localities to keep people in their homes, make sure people have the assistance they need. That's why there is a range of programs and a range of assistance the president advocated for, fought like hell for, and signed into law that is going to be implemented over the course of the next year and not just ending this summer.
Okay, so that was the clip in its entirety. Now we're going to break it up and we're going to take a look at some of the different little bits and pieces. So here we go.
States or around the world.
And then my second question is about American families. 7.5 million Americans are set to lose unemployment benefits next month, not just their federal supplement, but all benefits. Given the expiration of the eviction moratorium, what's going on with the Delta variant, has the president considered asking Congress to extend those benefits further?
Well, if Congress were to vote to extend the eviction moratorium, the president would sign that into law, and he'd be.
Okay, so I just want to stop there. So the question was, will the president ask Congress to do something? And the response was, well, if Congress wants to do something, then he would be okay with that. But that's not the question. The question is, will the president take the lead and say, look, this needs to happen? And the answer is, it's up to Congress, basically. This is the same answer that we heard when it came to stimulus checks that we heard probably 4 or 5 months ago, where that question was asked of Ms. Psaki, and Ms. Psaki said the same thing. It's going to be up to Congress to determine if we're going to have another round of stimulus checks. So I think the president is the leader of the Democratic Party, and if he says something, it's going to move people in Congress. It's going to make them want to act. But if he doesn't say anything, then it's one of these situations where they'll just think, you know what, it's not a priority for the president, so we're not going to move forward with it.
Happy to do that.
The benefits, the unemployment benefits.
Look, I think he made a decision based on where things stand in our economic recovery at this point in time. There's additional assistance that continues to go out to people across the country, which you are very familiar with and know well, whether it's the child tax credit or additional funding that is still being distributed by the American Rescue Plan.
Okay, so when it comes to the enhanced unemployment, obviously the response there is they're not going to extend it past September 6th, so it won't be extended. So if you are counting on that money and you were hoping that was going to be something that they would extend, it's not going to happen. Okay, she's clearly saying it here. There are other programs that are out there, the child tax credit and some other funding. The unfortunate part is that when we're looking at the states were given money from the federal government during the last stimulus package, and some of that money hasn't even been spent. And some state governments haven't spent the money to help with evictions and things like that. But I'll talk more about these issues when it comes to the federal government and the states. But let's play the rest of the clip.
Our objective continues to be to work with states and localities to keep people in their homes, make sure people have the assistance they need. That's why there is a range of programs and a range of assistance the president advocated for, fought like hell for, and signed into law that is going to be implemented over the course of the next year and not just ending this summer.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the federal government and state governments. So we saw this when it came to the enhanced unemployment. There was like 26 different states that refused to take the enhanced unemployment to give to the people in their state, which I think is ridiculous. I mean, we get to a point where you have the federal government voting on something, passing something, sending it out to the states, sending money out to the states, and then you have the state governments holding off on that money. That is a ridiculous thing. That is something that should never happen, because we pay taxes, we pay federal taxes, and we pay state taxes. So if we're in a situation where the federal government has money for people who are on unemployment, they should be able to receive that money. It should not be held off by the state. That's the first thing. And then when we start to look at the eviction moratorium, how that ended, and right now the president doesn't have the power. He does not have the power on his own to move forward with another eviction moratorium. He cannot do that. That's going to have to come from Congress. And because it has to come from Congress, they're going to have to do something. The president tried it. The president tried to do this through his administration, and it was struck down by the courts twice. So this is one of those situations where this has to come from Congress. And if Congress doesn't move, we have the second infrastructure bill that they'll be discussing right now. Proposals will be coming out. Will they have something for people who are potentially going to be evicted? Is that going to be in there? And will state governments be forced to spend the money that they have? They have money. They received funding for evictions. Some states are not releasing that money. And that's a big deal. And that brings me to the situation where we have the federal government, we have the state government, they're fighting against each other. And who is suffering? The American people are suffering. And when we look at this, most of it's political. And that's the sad part. When we look at the enhanced unemployment, when they started pulling back the enhanced unemployment, most of those states, almost all of those states, were Republican-run states. And so they're just saying, you know what? President Biden wants to do this. We don't want to help. Basically, we don't want to help the American people if it's coming from President Biden. And that's a sad situation. Okay. Now, it doesn't just go from Republican to Democrat. Democrats do the same thing. But this is a sad state of affairs when you have money available for people and then you have the states holding up that money. That is a sad situation. And then you have other politicians saying, look, the money hasn't been spent. Look, we have too much money here. So we shouldn't have allocated this much money for this program, when you have the states that are purposely holding the money, purposely not spending the money. So this is a big problem. This is a real big problem. And so as of today, if you're expecting and hoping to receive enhanced unemployment after September 6th, it will not be there for you. And so just make sure you're aware of that. Congress is on recess right now, so nothing will happen. Nothing will happen until maybe September 27th if they choose to put that in the second infrastructure bill, which as of right now, it's not being mentioned, so it's probably not going to be in there. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I don't like bringing all this bad news, but when we're looking at these different situations, this is what's out there. The eviction moratorium, that's going to be another big thing that people are going to be watching, because they're going to have to do something about that. And I don't know the answer. When it comes to the eviction moratorium, I do not have an answer for you. This is a real tough situation. You have landlords on one side, you have tenants on the other side, and this is tough. How do you handle this? How do you get past this whole thing? We've never faced anything like this before. We've never been in a pandemic where people have been forced to stay home. And so now we're looking at a situation where, how are we going to get past this? How do we make everyone whole when it comes to this? So if you guys have any questions, post it down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.